trying to do those trades more aggressively than other teams. But the question you have to answer now is, what are the champions that you're even trading because of the nerfs to the top tier?
Well, you can see Varus Maokai banned for Team Dignitas as FlyQuest ban Rise, so already a change up here, although we'll see how the next two bans on this red side for FlyQuest pan out. There is Camille, so at least that's some consistency.
Exactly. Rengar and LeBlanc are still available. Right now, it'll be I have to wonder whether Team Dignitas is going to throw that ban right here. Instead, they go for Jace, which means FlyQuest have an opportunity to try and pull off that trade they've done plenty of times in previous patches.
And LeBlanc has been the champion that's been most left open, I'll say, when teams decide to leave one of those three open on the previous patch. So do FlyQuest ban Rengar and give that option, or do they leave both open? Kind of curious to see what this final ban is here, but not sure they want to take a risk in game one.
They do. They're going to leave both open because this is something they've been able to do before. Moon is comfortable going against it. And this is what is also super cool and interesting. Shen was one of the champions in Europe, one of the 4 that had 100% presence in the pick and ban phase. So Team Dignitas obviously see a lot of value in that already. Although they have only played Shen once this split, it was a victory for Ssumday.
Well, Cassiopeia being that last ban, I mean, Shen is that first lock-in. FlyQuest go with Jhin, with Varus ban, that's nice, and Moon will take Rengar. So LeBlanc over here to dig. They didn't really feel like picking both those champions, giving Altec that AD carry instead.
Exactly. LeBlanc nerfs were fairly heavily focused in the early game, greatly diminished the wave clear, and then by the end of the game, you still get the damage up there. Rengar nerfs was a little bit of range off of his Q dash, but most importantly, he no longer gets 1.5 seconds of crowd control immunity after using his empowered W, which makes it much easier for a team to trade back onto Rengar after he flies in, especially if you have something like Shen, who can quickly taunt him once he gets in there. But even with that, Moon still wants the Rengar.
It has to be a bit more safe, I suppose, with the initiation, as Graves is the pick there for Chaser. This is the jungler flipper people are looking to, as there's actually a Ziggs locked in as well for Team Dignitas, so potentially mid, but also bot as well is an option here with 2 strong AD carries already taken away.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I've actually seen the Ziggs versus the more spellcaster marksman work in the bottom lane, but Ziggs is still a good mid laner, so I like the fact that Team Dignitas has already done that as a flex. Even though Koff, as Team Dignitas' coach, doesn't really know the full champion pools of these guys yet, as he has pretty much just done 24 hours of scrims, something he did more than anyone else, thinking all the way back to when he was a coach for Gravity, was utilize flex picks very early on in drafts, and that has actually been something that teams haven't done much of this split. Ziggs could be a flex pick right here that goes mid.
I mean, Keane on Gravity as well had deep pockets, so we'll have to see if Koff can work some magic in this draft. Karma pick for FlyQuest to end phase 1 means Malzahar will be banned by them, picking on supports. There's the Rumble ban away, so pretty infamous Balls Rumble being taken, but Team Dignitas clearly picking on top lane here.
Exactly. They already have the Maokai and the Jace banned away. Looking at Balls' champion pool thus far, he still has the Nautilus that he's had 4 games on to the tune of a 100% win rate, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that comes through as the next ban for Team Dignitas, since they're targeting top lane.
Balls is tanks only so far as well, with Maokai being banned and Ness LeBlanc actually, so maybe fearing that from high. 2 supports banned by FlyQuest, with Zaro being their second ban, so lots open here for FlyQuest. Do they take a mid laner or maybe wait for the counter pick, knowing that Ziggs is a flex pick? I'm kind of curious to see where FlyQuest go here, and I have to imagine pretty safe to pick Balls a tank here.
Yeah, I think so. I think the safe choice is just a Nautilus top lane, and
that's a Vladimir.
Go with the safe choice.
All right.
It could go mid or top lane. Speaking of the flex picks, and Vladimir was something they were just talking about in the pregame with some buffs on this patch. So it's another thing that has traditionally actually been a good lane into Shen, because Shen has such low kill threat and allows Vladimir to farm up. Well, we were expecting something different to happen. I wasn't really expecting Vladimir in the first game.
No, I wasn't either, but we'll see what FlyQuest can get done with it. Team Dignitas, though, do have a draft to finish here. So it looks like support may be open. Xpecial does love his playmaking champion, so there's Thresh for him. And they either have a mid laner or a bottom laner to go with, although Team Dignitas are leaving a lot open here, still with only 1 pick left.
Yeah, it's still a lot to decide. The Thresh is a good pick for Xpecial. He's a very experienced player, and Thresh has kind of always been in the meta, even though he's really meandered around to a lot of different support champions this year. This is his 9th unique pick. He's played it once before, actually won on it, and it leaves the door open for them. And there's that Zed. Yep. I think we know where he's going.
Yeah, looks like that's going to be mid Zed and Ziggs in the bot lane there for Lod. Thank you for reminding me, though. Xpecial experience is certainly a thing behind him. There's a Jarvan for FlyQuest. All right. So I was going to mention that Xpecial is 15 assists away from 2,000, so which will be the first player to ever reach that milestone. We've had 1,000 kills twice now. Turtle, congratulations, taking the lead last week. But let's talk about FlyQuest team comp. High with, that looks like mid lane Jarvan.
They're all in, and High seemingly has a counter pick to everything. You give him LeBlanc, he'll throw Caston in there, and kind of throwing it to Keane, who has been a guy who has the weird counter picks to everything. I love it as well because they already had the Vladimir for magic damage, so they don't care about stacking physical damage in the mid lane and jungle. And it's just going to be lethality versus lethality, who can one-shot each guy first. And I think the Jarvan might actually win that.
And that was kind of the thing that analysts were saying is a lot of champions got changed in this patch, but the items were completely untouched. So lethality is just as good as it ever was. And you know what? We've had it in pretty much every position. Let's really bring it into the mid lane.
Yeah, and it's such a cool draft already. Yeah. We saw the potential for the Ziggs to go mid, but they had to lock in the Zed early and basically opt into a blind Zed pick, which High experienced last week. He had to play up against a Zillion. He has a different way of trying to counter the Zed, obviously. Much more all in on here, and I can't wait to see specifically the matchup in the mid lane, but also whether or not Balls on Vladimir can make it work here. First non-tank he's played in the top lane this split.
Gonna have to play more of a carry here, so I love it from FlyQuest. Mixing it up, as I think kind of expected, moving into a new patch here. But we'll see what other surprises are in store for our first game between Dignitas and FlyQuest. It's already exciting, and we're only now onto Summoner's Rift.
Exactly, we kind of expected it, and you want to be able to bring some more flavor into this because looking at last week, up until the Team Dignitas 2-0ing Envy was just on a completely downward trend. They started the year with a 2-1, then lost 3 series in a row 1-2, then lost 3 series in a row 0-2, and you're thinking, oh man, what's happening with this Team Dignitas team? They bring in Stunt, they win 2 games against Envy. Now they brought in Cop, Xpecial starting, but it may turn into one of these 6-man rosters. And their draft has obviously gotten a little bit more interesting, but I think that pales in comparison to the intrigue of FlyQuest draft.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on. Even Ssumday having a bit of extra fun at triple rejuve beads, saying, you know what, Vladimir? I'm sick of you sustaining in lane with your transfusion and your 4 potions with your boots. Yeah. I will match that with as many beads as I can fit.
Okay, Shen does build Tiamat very early, so he can use some of the rejuve beads for that. I believe not all 3. There are other items that rejuve bead builds into. Off the top of my head, I honestly don't check because that's an item I've almost never built. It's one of the cheapest items in the game. That's why you can build 3 of them early on. But he will build all of those things, and it's to try and cut down on the harassment that Vladimir can put on him from range.
Well, we'll have to find out, but we did hear a bit from Freak, so we're going to toss to him to see what he had to say on the series.
Thank you very much. I talked to ThinkCard, the coach of FlyQuest, asked him about the Vladimir as well as the Jarvan. Said Vladimir's a good flex pick, got some buffs, worth playing, and he says a lot of teams aren't used to playing against it, so it could be a surprise factor. On Jarvan, said, well, it's a great anti-melee matchup, and he thinks that High's going to absolutely smash Zed on it, so that's the plan. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Freak. Love to hear that insight from ThinkCard. Makes sense, given what we saw, and Moon did manage to get his big raptor in the scuffle that happened, but no one died. You can see, though, that Rengar's still doing plenty of early damage, so Chaser gonna have to worry about face checking.
Yeah, even though Chaser did get 2 of the small raptors, I definitely think Moon wins that trade pretty handily. He's able to very quickly go for Dread buff. Meanwhile, Chaser's jungle is delayed, and none of Chaser's lanes got an advantage because of that invade. So early advantage there to FlyQuest with the Rengar.
Like the attempt though, so you have a look into bottom lane. Ziggs is something we've rarely seen in the NALCS. We're seeing a little bit of play earlier on. Cody's son does have a game winner already, but this is Lod's first game.
Yeah, and we've seen it a few times over in Korea. I know Bang has had a successful game on it than SKT, but this is really a pick that saw more success before the LCS started because people saw it as this new thing, expect how to get very aggressive in the bottom lane, and it worked because it can hit power spikes earlier than traditional marksman. It doesn't work as well into a Jhin, who is also building the lethality items and getting that very strong mid-game level of damage, but it's definitely still something that can potentially match the shove of a Karma Jhin.
Nice cute invade from Lemon as well, warding up the red, but with the bottom lane roaming up towards him, takes the blast cone out of their jungle. High also continuing to keep track of Chaser, warding the Raptor camp out, making sure he has vision, and he's going to be playing aggressively in this lane like we expect, so smart to get that vision down. as Lod is pushing these creeps back. CS is pretty even between the two, but looks like Altec and Lemon have the push advantage for now.
Exactly, and they're very confident in this push because of the deep wards Lemonnation was able to get in the jungle of Chaser, as well as the failed early invade the Chaser had up in the Raptor pit. So I like what FlyQuest is doing here, just already having natural counter picks to pretty much every one of Team Dignitas' soul lanes, since they were able to see them first and then pick later, and then now just pushing in because they have vision of the jungle. Very smart play.
Yep. And again, Lod's going to have to play carefully. Can't really afford to trade early on as Balls was rotating down. Got some extra wards there for High, so FlyQuest investing heavily in that vision for their mid laner, making sure they can unlock High as much as they can. And one of the nice things about this pick for High is that not only does he want to play aggressively, and it does seem like a good counter pick here, particularly into melees, but if Keane's just going to get shoved in and hide behind his turret, High can freely roam with the Jarvan, particularly once he gets his ultimate.
Yeah, and FlyQuest has been very proactive with their moves pretty much this whole year, and already Moon counter jungling Chaser, and this is the beginning of unlocking High to continue this playstyle. So much of this snowballs on itself, and it's going to be tricky for Team Dignitas to pull themselves out of this one. Chaser doesn't even check there for Moon, so Moon also wasn't in the brush, so he didn't even spot Chaser there. This could be risky for FlyQuest.
Yeah, this is blind, but now
oh,
he's going to show up. Good hook there onto Lemonnation. Could be trouble. Damage coming through. Altec trying to trade, but first blood goes over to Dignitas. Moon here, but a little late. Chaser is going to get aggressive, but Moon went too far forward. Good play, Xpecial. Chaser flashes forward, Xpecial. Last order. Oh, gets the Q, and there's 2 kills.
And that's exactly the type of play Team Dignitas needed to jump back in this game, Pastrytime, and it was quite honestly a series of unfortunate events for FlyQuest. Moon didn't sit in the brush as he was finishing Krugs, so he didn't see the Graves there. So by the time Lemonnation has Chaser, notice the prediction-ish hook by Xpecial against the wall. Lemonnation flashes straight into it, makes the Lantern even easier to take. And then it just kind of goes from bad to worse. Moon is very confident on this Rengar because of his early game burst, but it's basically a 3v1 right there, and everyone is able to flash follow. Lod eventually killing with that bomb, and guess what? He got a blue buff out of that, which is even better for their bottom lane.
Yeah, it turns out when your bottom laner is a Ziggs, blue is pretty nice. He's going back double thrones, lost chapter and that control word for a bit of vision. So Lod looking pretty happy on the player cam. After that, Dignitas out to a early lead, 600 gold up with those 2 kills. We'll see if they can snowball any potential bottom lane advantage. And great play from Chaser to get things going in the right place at the right time. High though, still having a good time here. Keane playing safe.
Yeah, and this is actually a super aggressive move by High. Doesn't quite get the kill, and here comes the roam from Team Dignitas. Xpecial has a bit of a wait from bottom lane.
Oh, good flash there from High, very patient. Get some poke back down there as well. Keane lucky to live the all in. Does have his ultimate now, going to shove out this lane with a bit of help and see what High decides to do. Pretty healthy though.
Yeah, Chaser helping Keane shove in here because Keane actually saved both summoner spells where both of High's were burned. I like what High did there, knowing he had the shove advantage and knowing he was going to get the level 6 first and attempting the kill. But when he fails to convert that, that now swings the power in the lane back over to Keane. And Xpecial was able to roam up there because there was a blue buff on the Ziggs and he didn't need help in that lane temporarily. So I do like the roam from Xpecial, who's had a pretty rough year.
I mean, you can already see just how different the shove advantage looks now that Ziggs has some levels and particularly has his early item buys in that blue. So things turning around nicely. We'll see if this can cascade into more advantages for Dignitas or if FlyQuest can do what they've always done and continue to make plays around that mid-game. High right now is going back to base. I imagine there'll be some sort of lethality purchases made. As you can see, Keane already has his Dirk and an early longsword. Corrupting potion there for High, and there's a pickaxe actually with 2 longswords, so incredibly aggressive first item purchases.
Yeah, basically just going for raw AD. That can also help the Jarvan with being able to clear the back wave of minions very easily. You can QE the back wave, I believe, with those items and still one-shot it, so he's going to want to out-shove there. But here comes Chaser. No flash on Moon.
Moon got the red buff though. Ssumday misses the taunt. He's now invis. They're going to try and find him out. Moon trying to get himself out of the way. Heals up with the W. Ulti there from Chaser, commits for the kill, but not nearly enough.
No, and good jukes by Moon, but you have to call out Ssumday there for the missed taunt. Coming in, knowing Moon is without flash, Ssumday having a flash taunt available, not going for it. I think if that taunt lands and Ssumday gets the pass-through Q when he takes it through, I think Chaser and Ssumday easily pick up that kill, but missed execution means Shen ult down, no kill.
Good damage there in the mid lane as Xpecial could be in a spot of bother. Lemonnation trying to get the tether on, but doesn't finish that off. Altec still shooting minions as he's now going to find Ssumday, who I think just caught him. Chaser here as well. No, Moon's going to leap in. Ssumday has to put up the Spirit's Refuge. Jukes back towards his teammate. Moon still leaping in. Balls is here as well. And they just can't face check blind. Looks a little too dangerous.
Yeah, they're really respecting the early game damage of a Graves because they had a large health advantage coming into that, and essentially the ultimate up from Balls is Vladimir, so I think they could have won that, but they just were playing it conservatively, thinking they're going to outscale that lane.
In the meantime, Balls having a perfectly fine time in that 1v1 matchup. Ssumday did commit his ultimate for a kill, and missed it onto Moon, and now Balls is just doing Vladimir things. Every time you gain some CS, you gain more levels, Vladimir only gets stronger, and Shen can't really afford to push Vlad out of top lane at any point. And Ssumday, you can see how defensive he has to go because he's just going to continually get shoved in by this Vladimir.
Yeah, I mean, Ssumday is basically just trying to play the survival game, not getting aggressive whatsoever, and they basically get to take shots when his ultimate's up because Balls isn't going to harass him low with the defensive build that Ssumday is going. And when they miss that shot, it relieves a lot of pressure from FlyQuest. I'm still expecting Moon and High to try and make an aggressive play with Rengar ultimate coming back up again, and just the general style of FlyQuest.
Nice plant usage there from Chaser. Spots Moon with the Scry's Bloom and clears out FlyQuest pink ward that was just above the red buff. Chaser still on wall clearing duty, going for everything right now. Able to shoot this down pretty comfortably. And High, I mean, he wants to play aggressive, but Keane's able to push up more. I feel like that first gank kind of forced High's pressure back a little bit. FlyQuest could have opened up this game and really snowballed it, but Dignitas have done a good job controlling the early phase. Yeah,
I also think the roam mid lane after Fly's kill attempt, burning his flash, has prevented him from playing more aggressively. With all that being said, though, the gold in the junglers is even. Moon has been out farming so much of Chaser, and this stems from the early game disadvantage Chaser had and all the early wards FlyQuest put in that jungle, that the game itself is coming very close to equalizing, with the majority of the gold actually being on Laud Ziggs. As you can see, 600 gold ahead of Altec. That's pretty much the whole advantage, is in that bottom lane completely.
Everything's slowing down a bit. Looks like Keane might be looking for a back right now, just shoving things in. Back did come from the bottom lane of FlyQuest as Altec gets some Swifty boots and a few more swords. Laud probably looking for Lemonnation, which he should be close to, if not there already. And Keane and Chaser gonna play the donation game. Keane go ahead, gets a level up and the blue buff, so things looking good so far as Moon maybe fancying an invade here on the left side.
Blue buff on Zed for the extra energy regeneration is actually better than you'd expect. He's very spammy in lane and actually does have to wait on the energy fairly often, so I can understand that hand up, even though Chaser is a mana user.
Nice ult there from Laud, actually. Did trunk out Altec, and he's going back anyway, so no real reason to save the ultimate. Not going to get too far from bottom lane anyway to try and get an ulti down. And Xpecial teaming up with Chaser to roam through and try and find some wards as Moon makes his way to the top lane.
Yeah, Moon's just going to continue to try and make a play here. It's pretty difficult to dive a Shen, since he does have the W that can come up to block his auto attacks. I'm wondering what he's going to try and pull off here.
Ssumday went aggressive, maybe. That's the key. Key move played down. Good flash from Ssumday, but they're going to keep chasing. Balls pulls his way up. Ulti's there. Needs one more Q, maybe a little bit more. The shield, it wears up, but they're just going to chase it in. Ssumday can't go anywhere, and Balls gets the kill.
I mean, credit to Moon for having the presence of going up there. We haven't been able to watch the top lane, but I'd have to imagine Ssumday had been taunting aggressively fairly often. Otherwise, that gank doesn't seem like it's going to work. But Ssumday used the taunt and the Spirit's Refuge very early, and that allowed Moon to have perfect timing on that gank, and that's huge for FlyQuest.
Excellent read from FlyQuest jungler, and they get themselves the early turret gold as well. Balls off to a lead versus Ssumday. Didn't think I'd be saying that one in 2017.
Yeah, this has been a bad game for Ssumday. Even though he hasn't played much Shen this year, and it was a bit of a denial pick, he hasn't been landing his taunts, and he's now fallen in lane. So Dignitas trying to get something back on the other side of the map with Laud and Xpecial.
And these are the things you can do with Ziggs in your bot lane. Great abuse of the early kills. Chaser got his bottom lane, and a good conversion on the turret. Ziggs with that satchel charge, able to literally demolish the turrets down. So he's feeling good so far. As High and Keane still doing battle. Ghostblade done now for Keane. High has got a back in, but didn't get too much done. Serrated Dirk and a cloth arm is not a completed item. Balls on the other side, though, has his proto belt. So feeling pretty good about the 1v1. Getting
exactly. I do feel like High's probably going to go Ninja Tabi as well against the Graves and the Zed. Not to mention the ability to move a little bit faster, since Keane doesn't have any boots yet, and closing the distance in these assassin matchups can be very important.
In the meantime, though, it's getting shoved in for a little while longer. Sums are back up, but has been fairly well contained after his early lane pressure. And we'll see what FlyQuest do with the dual lane, and it's the same for Dig as well. You can see Xpecial and Laud still roaming around, likely want to go to siege another lane here. Maybe mid's a decent candidate. High. Ooh. Saw a target, but doesn't go for it.
Yeah, I mean, once you miss your EQ on Jarvan, your damage diminishes greatly, especially before you have those built-up one-shot items. So Team Dignitas able to kind of play around the bottom side of their map a little bit here, something we haven't said at all this year, but is their main advantage here, taking the first bottom turret, getting first blood bottom, and then also getting the Drake.
Bit of momentum from the jungle is maybe all they needed. Chaser really set that one up. Balls, though, is still shoving in towards their tier 2 at a quick pace. Dig did get the Cloud Drake on the other end of that deal, so we'll have that objective for themselves as Moon is looking for something here in the mid lane. Keane, ooh, good flash. Ssumday in as well. Commits to stand united to make sure Zed stays safe, but just a few cooldowns there.
Yeah, a really early ignite by High, actually, because of how quickly Keane flashed out with the Shen ultimate, so wasn't even close to the kill. Now they once again try and go for Ssumday. That will be a bit of a journey.
Taunty's way out, so Moon with a good ultimate there, but Ssumday playing smart and backing away. High's been playing for a long time. Probably thought he had 5 extra AD there, but that's not how Ignite works anymore.
Would have given him the kill. Easy.
Instead, a lot of Xpecial move themselves in the mid lane, and I imagine they'll be sitting here for a little while. Lot is very threatening on the turret. Silk Shoes, Lemonnation is a good early itemization for the Ziggs.
Absolutely, it's exactly what you want. Bottom lane Ziggs does switch between Lichbane and Ludens for their next item. Lichbane more turret pushy, Ludens much more spell damage. I prefer the Ludens actually because you already need a massive lead just to get to the turrets, and they don't have it right now with the game being pretty much locked even.
Blue buff over to High. We're going to start that up. Chaser is here. Ultimate? Yeah, he's going to try. Oh, he got it. Oh, good steal.
Perfect steal, and blind as well. He got to see them pull it into the brush and then was like, you know, maybe I'll just use an ultimate now. Perfect. Steals the blue buff away. That will again kind of allow Keane to keep shoving into that mid lane, at least until his ultimate's back up again. And also Keane switched to the bottom lane, so it's the Ziggs that is now pushing in because that's their demolitionist style. Yeah,
you can see High. I mean, he's going to have to play safe in this long lane, but still plenty of threat there out onto Keane, particularly with Edge of Night now finished. Can get in Zed's face pretty comfortably. Altec does have his own Ghost Blade, so shouldn't be too bad here, but I imagine Ziggs should have a push advantage given that he's a mage and was a champion in the mid lane known for strong pushing power. You can see Xpecial and Lemon still in battle, but Xpecial is going to get the better of that ward battle.
Yeah, and especially at this point in the game, the Ziggs will have the advantage with the Lemonnation being completed. And I'm really wanting to see how proactive Team Dignitas can be, especially playing around the other 4. This is a divergence from the normal story of, Ssumday is doing well, but the rest of the team is doing bad. Actually, the rest of the team is doing quite well. It is Ssumday who is behind in this game. So this is a different Team Dignitas than you've seen for most of the year.
Certainly is. Blue buff steal. Ulti from Lod, but doesn't get it. Little late.
Yeah.
Ball's going to take it. Not the best candidate, but might as well steal it away. Ssumday, as you can see, wants nothing to do with the 1v1 versus Vladimir, and Balls is going to continue building that lead as long as he can. As Lod clears out another wave of creeps. They almost had the push there with 4 members about 30 seconds ago, but Lod going to go back, do some more item buying, and things, again, going to stay a little slower here. 1 turret apiece. Gold lead is kind of there for FlyQuest, but it's pretty much nothing at this stage. Just that Cloud Drake up for Dignitas as far as overall advantages go.
Yeah, and I actually feel like FlyQuest is quite comfortable with their scaling this game, since they're the team with the marksman. And Jhin isn't necessarily like one of your Caitlyn hyperscaling marksmen, but I do feel that it still scales better than the bot lane Ziggs. Not to mention the Vladimir versus Shen is just comical. Like, the late game Vladimir is an absolute monster, and Balls isn't there yet. So I think that's kind of why we're seeing a little bit less proactivity from FlyQuest than we're used to. They have been a very active team in the mid game. That's with very early game compositions and also with leads. So now that they have some good late game insurance in the Vladimir, and they've been behind, they're just kind of playing neutral and waiting for Team Dignitas to make a mistake while they scale up.
Nice dodge there from Moon, though. Xpecial look for the hook, but Moon jukes out of the way. Keane still pushing up here, so Dignitas do have a lot of pressure towards this right-hand side. Infernal Drake up in 1:50, so they can play to that objective when it appears. But again, like you said, FlyQuest happy to play back. No need to rush things, although High, if he finds an opportunity, will look for a kill. Unfortunately for him, he's been the target of a lot of early attention this game.
Oh yeah, I think it's really interesting too that he's gone Edge of Night so early, often kind of reserved for mage matchups because of that 35 magic resist, but being able to put up a spell shield on a 30-second cooldown that lasts for 10 seconds, so essentially every wave allowing him to walk up, still valuable even if it's blocking physical damage spells. And High recognizes that. That's why he's built Edge of Night.
Kind of funny to see if Keane oopsies and clicks the ZL at the wrong time, because there's certainly a possibility, but very unlikely that will happen. Altec and Lod still doing battle. Lemmonnation's been anchored to this lane because he does need to help Altec push these waves out, which has given Xpecial opportunities to ward aggressively and to roam, particularly towards high. But Dignitas, I think, also happy to play it slow. They know that the game might be on some sort of timer, but they don't need to rush things down and really push it just yet. They can build up an advantage, and then snowball a mid-game and try and crush it it later.
That is definitely the hope when you're in a close game like this, but you do have to kind of call back to some of Team Dignitas' struggles. Even though they were able to beat Envy last week, their previous series, they actually had an hour plus of in-game time against Immortals without a kill. So they have definitely struggled to make plays happen. This game, the playmaking is pretty much on Xpecial and Ssumday. Ssumday's already having a relatively bad game, and Xpecial has been playing a little bit more passive this game because he's dying a lot in those other games when trying to make plays. So a lot to still work on from Team Dignitas, and they don't have a good track record thus far of actually making things happen in close games. They want to start it here.
FlyQuest are grouped as 5 here, so we'll see how they make this play. Xpecial gonna find it, but it could be too late. Lot gets caught up all in, and that should be a kill. High able to take that down. Vladimir here doing good damage as Keane in the thick of it. Almost gets out, but Ball takes him out. Ssumday late snipes Lemonnation with a taunt auto, and now Moon getting chased down by the Graves. Ball plays back in. He went aggressive with a flash. Altec flashes in for the last order and gets a kill. Now Moon fighting Ssumday through the Spirit's Refuge. Great taunt flash gets Ssumday another kill. Oh, but the last of it, Altec able to take him down. Ssumday got a triple kill, but Altec cleaned up the rest.
Well, Ssumday is back in the game, but this is still advantage FlyQuest because they have two strong physical damage dealers that are able to take down this turret after the fight. And Pastrytime, that fight was a bit of a mess, all things considered. They just flew into each other, and funnily enough, it started with them trying to go on Xpecial as he was the most forward-facing on the Team Dignitas roster.
Well, that was a bit more than a mess, I think, but FlyQuest, I'll take the outer turret. No one gets the Infernal Drake for now, as we'll watch this chaos again.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. Notice as well, the Lantern is down at the start of this, so there's nothing to save Laud from the barrage of FlyQuest, so I love their initiation. But Keane actually got a bunch of AoE damage off in this fight, as did Chaser, which means when Ssumday enters, he actually can have a pretty good fight here. Notice how he's holding on to his spells fairly well, staying close, and then waiting until he needs to finish a kill for the taunt. And this was actually really slick. The flash taunt into the Lantern that's just come back up, but unfortunately, the 4th Jhin bullet was already in the chamber, so that was able to finish him off. And Altec, good positioning throughout that entire fight, reaps the rewards.
Could have another fight on our hands as well. Infernal Drake is up, and teams are positioned very far forward for a face-off.
Stack it up, let's do it again. If Team Dignitas is going to group like this, here comes FlyQuest.
Moon's ulti, there's bullets as well from Jhin. Ssumday blocking him, but Chaser gets tagged by another. Ssumday taking the next one. Log gets sniped by the other. High, looking to go all in. Finds Lod, destroys him almost in the backline, but Dignitas almost turn around. High will go down, and Ssumday is low. Moon trying to fight his way out of the corner, can't do it. Now Keane all in Altec, that's going to be a kill. And Balls all of a sudden is left alone. Dignitas wiped FlyQuest there.
And this is the type of game you love to cast Pastrytime because they are just throwing
Bolt is dead here as well, I think.
Unless he gets Keane first.
Good pull. Bolt gets Chaser. Needs a few more. Gets another. Bolt with a double kill. Keeps him in it.
All right. That's a fight for you. Dead even gold, but both Drakes going over to Team Dignitas. And this is the type of scaling we're talking about when we see Vladimir, and he's not even late game yet. We're going to watch this one more time. FlyQuest doesn't get as clean of as an initiation as they would like. Notice how when High goes in, his EQ doesn't actually do damage. So his entire ultimate is just the ult and the auto afterwards, so he doesn't have the burst to instantly kill Laud. That lets Laud go through a full rotation of spells, and also in the backside, no one is saving Altec, who was positioned very well in the previous fight. So Keane didn't have to worry about any assassinations, was able to clean up the backside. And then here, I mean, you just got to credit Balls' Vladimir for staying alive. Kite's back to where he knows he's not going to stay alive, but gets close enough to Chaser to finish him off. And then the fact that Keane can't get through to click on the Lantern / wants to finish the kill to allow Balls to pick up the double almost equalizes the fight if you don't count the Infernal Drake.
Well, Balls getting pretty strong right now. Proto about Zhonya's and a 3rd major item on the way. So we'll track his progress as the fights break out again. But absolute chaos means that we went from 3 kills at about 15 minutes to 18 at 23. And you can see the Dignitas fans starting to get a little louder after that exchange.
Yeah, also, Xpecial watch, 9 assists currently in the game. I believe he needs 5 more to get to 2,000 or 6. We'll get confirmation
15,
on
he
that.
needs 6.
So he needs 6 more assists to get that record. It could actually happen this game, and based on Team Dignitas' track record, you wouldn't have thought that would be possible. He's had plenty of really low assist games so far this year, and then even last week getting subbed out for Stunt, you were wondering if he was going to be able to hop into the starting lineup again. But a decent performance so far on Thresh, and with how active this game has been, chance we could see the milestone hit.
Well, Lichbane was the item for Lord, and they get mid-outer turret as a result. Balls, though, continuing his dominance of side lanes, will take down the mid-outer. So FlyQuest still up in turrets. They're up in gold technically as well. But this game is far too close to call at this point. And Baron is also up, and given the way these teams are playing, I wouldn't be surprised if either of them just started it with a snap of the fingers.
Yeah, High popping both actives right now, but he's pretty much on his own.
Yeah, 1v4 right now. Gonna get played back in, gonna try and destroy someone. Keane destroys him instead.
Yeah, caught completely out of position, and actually Ssumday doing some work.
All right, this is the real 1v1. Yeah, Ssumday's like, no, I don't want to deal with this. Ball just walks the way out. Did get his teleport cancelled though, tried to help out High. And now there should be another turret for Dignitas. They just demolished them with this Ziggs.
Yeah, checking Mod's skill order. He's not maxing his satchel charge, so currently 27.5% is the percent health you can execute turrets on. But you race against a Grave Zed Ziggs, I think you're going to lose. This is a bunch of a turret race, and it's a game of chicken. These are big mini waves for both teams. Neither team actually has wave clear, so we may see an inhibitor trade.
I mean, High is dead, but he's still making the call. Looks like Fly actually have the better tempo here, especially going back. There's another turret, but the inhibitor is on first for FlyQuest. Ssumday can't get in at all.
I mean, it's just going to be High back in the base, and you're wondering if they're going to actually try and defend this. Balls is very low. Ssumday and Xpecial are fighting.
The Xpecial also back. Altec now turns his attention to the fight. Balls trying to take one now, but Xpecial going to live for a little while longer. Mid and him goes down, but Dig already took the top in here. Very interesting trade.
Yeah, it ends up being a pretty punishless trade, because both teams walk away with everyone alive, although it was definitely a little bit dicier on the side of FlyQuest, as Ssumday did a lot of work to get FlyQuest relatively low, and after that poor start, his Shen is turning into a bit of a monster. We're going to have to track that throughout, but speaking of which, the death cap has been completed by Balls' Vladimir, so we're just in for a little bit more chaos.
I mean, this game's been a treat since the draft started, so has delivered so far. Almost 26 minutes through an Ocean Drake up in a mid at 45, but I think teams have eyes on the big prize. Baron is up and available, and Chaser and Keane, again, I would not be surprised if the team started at the drop of a hat. Chaser's going to clear this ward out and at least make FlyQuest think about it.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see if the way these teams approach team fights changes at all. Mainly because FlyQuest was trying to go all in on Laud, and if they don't stop him before he can get his burst out, that kind of sets the table for the rest of the executes to happen. But they're going one more time. Who can they get?
They're looking for Xpecial right now. Moon able to kind of tag that up, but he takes a little too much damage. Bullet there, but Ssumday blocks it. Now King going to dive in onto Moon. Damage is there from the Zed. That should be a kill. Pop is there, and that's enough. Ssumday straight into it, though, onto High and High. Going to try and blow them up on the other side, but they managed to CC him for long enough. Dignitas with 2 clean ones.
Yeah, these dives aren't working for FlyQuest, and that's a big problem, because if High keeps jumping in like that, it's easily getting turned around. The Shen shield, the locket that's been completed by Xpecial's Thresh, not to mention the shielding from Dark Passage, is preventing the assassination from both Moon and High. They're going straight for Baron. Balls is in base, so unless this is a random steal from a Karma or a sneaky W from the Jhin, it's Baron for Team Dignitas.
Well, see if Lemonnation can challenge teammates. There's the W. Altec tries it, but Baron Team Dignitas.
He didn't even hit the Baron, he missed.
That's awkward.
He hit a player, but he tried. That would have been something. And that's actually a Nexus turret that has fallen on the side while they were defending that, so an even worse series of events for FlyQuest. Watch this one more time, though. Watch High. He just doesn't get in where he wants to, and it's Moon who goes in without him. It was a Ziggs as well as a play, so High wasn't going to try and jump in. He then misses his EQ as King is assassinating Moon, and then tries desperately at the end to pull something out, but he's just not getting the clean combos he wants on the Jarvan, and Team Dignitas is punishing.
And comp-wise, FlyQuest need everybody in at the same time if they're going to dive. Balls is way in the back line, not able to get in there and join the heavy dive of Rengar and Jarvan, so Hasn't been working out for FlyQuest. Dig have played really well, both in and out on either side of the fight front. So they've got Baron buff for themselves and a solid gold lead. We'll see what damage they can do.
Yeah, and I think it goes a little bit from bad to worse for FlyQuest here with the Zonias being completed by Laud, because now he can just Zonias the initial dive after he casts ultimate and try and turn it around. FlyQuest essentially have 3 all-in champions plus the Jhin. So now that we're seeing a little bit of a fed Ziggs here, even though he's just 1-2-9, but the items that are being completed, and then kind of burst resistance on the rest of the champions of Team Dignitas, their fights are very strong at this 28-minute point of the game.
And they're sticking together as well. Ball's going to get himself the blue buff, but Altec zoned off this turret. Dignitas should be able to take it down. Laud might not even be needed for this particular assassination, and isn't. Just throws a Q in, throws an auto in, excuse me. Able to take that down with a Lich Bane. So 7 turrets to 5 now. Remember, inhibitors got traded at a random point in the game as well, so super minions causing some problems for Dignitas as they try and push down mid lane, but FlyQuest always have to deal with top lane.
Exactly, and I love how Team Dignitas push mid lane right there with their advantage to kind of make it so the super minions that would pile in for mid lane aren't going to be a problem for quite a while, using this time to just continue sieging up. They've got the Ziggs, they've got the Thresh to try and get picks at the turret, and they're going to just try and brute force through to this second inhibitor. I almost feel like if FlyQuest doesn't do a flank initiation, they're going to get rid of this inhibitor, and here they come.
Sounds like they heard you because they're going in for it. Moon all the way around, and Balls is going to join him. This is the setup for Dignitas. Ssumday, though.
Ssumday caught him, though.
Balls. Now Moon caught out as well. They're going to go all in for it. Balls has to try and fight it out. Chaser gets his way out as high. It's already a little too low. Redemption down to Xpecial caught up, but Balls has gone down. That's the main damage for FlyQuest. And now Ssumday using that ultimate to try and protect his teammates. FlyQuest just lost one for free there.
Ssumday way ahead of that play, and he stops FlyQuest from seeking that engagement. Also, Chaser juking out of the double assassination attempt from the rest of the team. Team Dignitas looking great.
Going to be a triple inhib perhaps here as well. Keane already working on the turret, should be able to take it down. Another inhib looking to fall here as well, and Dignitas might just go for it all.
It's a 5v4 and they're pretty low, but with 3 inhibitors down, the game is almost in the bag. It's rather risky, but I agree, they might just go for this one, Pastry.
Might as well try for it. Moon going to try and defend here, but the Baron buff still up for longer. Ssumday flash taunt forces a flash out.
Oh, they got Moon.
Inhib back, but Moon's just trying to kite them out of the base, but Dignitas don't care. They're just going to look for the turrets here. One Nexus turret already dead. Second one going to fall down. Nexus now exposed.
FlyQuest got to fight.
Have to do something here, but the Nexus is getting wailed on. Keane goes back into high for a bit of revenge, and Dignitas plow through them.
And that's now 3 game wins in a row for Team Dignitas. They 2-0'd Envy last week. They made a coaching change 2 days ago with Cobb, and now they're 1-0 up on FlyQuest, the second place team.